Hello everyone, welcome to Jenkins tutorial. So today we'll be going through the architecture of Jenkins, which is also known as distributed system or distributed architecture, where we have the concept of master and slave, uh, where like master is the controller and slave will is used to do the tasks. So let's go through first the diagram. So here in the architecture we have the source code repository, which can be any version control tool like Git, then SVN, Perforce, TFS, etc. So now, what is a source code repository? A source code repository is the one which contains the source code, which is used to build the project, and it contains all the project related files, folders, etc. So again, then this is the source code repository, which is hosted by the version control system. Then we come to the actual architecture. So in the actual architecture, we have a Jenkins master server, that is the Jenkins CI server, where we install the Jenkins, and it is the master node. And then we have another concept called Jenkins slave, which can be again of any OS based on your application, and it is requirement of the and this requirement. So basically, it can be of Linux slave, it can be Windows slave, Mac slave, or it can also be of like a Docker type for the slave. So going to the master part again here. So the main Jenkins server is the master server of Jenkins, which is acting like a control server, which defines and arranges the workflow of the pipeline, like how it should be built on, and it actually controls the whole Jenkins. So the jobs of this master are following. Like the first job is like we can consider from the slide is like scheduling jobs. It will help you to schedule the jobs. It will help you manually build the jobs. Uh, and then it is the one responsible for making the UI up and running of the Jenkins. It sends the builds to the slave. So suppose you have a job configured and you connect that to run it on the slave, which may be Linux or Windows. So it helps the builds to send to the slaves and get it executed there. Then it is helpful for keeping track of the state of the slaves, whether it is online, offline, that is available or unavailable. Then it is also responsible for connecting to, yeah, the master to the slave. And just to remember, slave and agent will be used again and again. So the terms are actually the same. Slave was being used earlier, but nowadays it's known as agent. So it can also be used like if you want to use the Jenkins master server to build your jobs, it can also be used, but it is not preferred because it is used. It is mainly its main purpose is to uh, be a controller and not execute the jobs. So the preference is always like to execute all the jobs on the required slaves. Going to the next part, which is again agent slave part. So in this agent slave part of Jenkins that runs on a remote environment. So basically what it means is whatever agent we are creating. So this is in our context, this is the Jenkins server, and we have these three slave servers or the agent servers. So these are meant to be the remote servers, which will be like Linux, Mac, or Windows, or maybe even a cloud server, which may be hosted in AWS, Azure, etc., or maybe some Docker agents. So its task is basically to pick the job and execute it on the remotely. So instead of you going and remotely logging to the server and doing the task, so this slave will be taking care, and it can be, it's actually different IPs or different servers, which will help you by connecting to the Jenkins master server, and whenever you execute the job, it will execute on a particular server with the help of these agents. So every server will have its agent configured, which will be connected to the master. So that is why it's known as distributed system, where master is controlling the slaves, and the slaves are configured on the respective servers. Now the characteristics of the slaves or the agent are, it always listens to the master instance. So every slave has its connectivity to the master, and it will listen and report itself, like whether it is offline, online, available, unavailable, or whenever the job is executed. So every report is being presented by agent to the master Jenkins server. So its job is to do as told to by the build jobs which are created and conveyed by the master server. Okay, so let's go to the architecture steps. So basically what happens is like whenever your repository, that is the version control tool, which may be Git, SVN, etc., etc. So once a developer checks in the code, the Jenkins master server has configured poll SCM, which will be polling your repository again and again. And whenever there is a new commit, it will take the change, build it, and according to the jobs. So once the jobs are configured here and the jobs are connected to agent, it will execute all the build steps, yeah, compile, package, etc., and then even execute the test cases. So this is how the flow is like from source code to master server and master server to agent server. So once all these things are configured, so in each and every step, if there is a failure, it will directly provide a feedback to the developer. Like if you have set up the Slack notification or email notification, so if the build is fail or success, so it will notify the developers accordingly.